Hey guys, Dwayne Estes, Executive Director of the Southeastern Grasslands Initiative. And I'm coming to you today from the beautiful Cossatot River in the Cossatot Mountains of southwest Arkansas. And I want to point out behind me a pretty neat type of grassland, which is a thin linear strip along some of these rivers out in the Wasatahs. These, we've been highlighting some of those in the Appalachian region over in Tennessee and Alabama. And this is some that occur here in what we call the interior highlands ecoregion. These are along the Cossatot River, and also sometimes you'll see them along other rivers like the South Fush-Lafave here in Arkansas and the Mountain Fork River of Oklahoma. And in that narrow zone, which is a flood-maintained grassland, you'll find species like big blue stem and prairie cordgrass, little blue stem, switchgrass, and even an endemic grass called the Cumberland sandgrass, which oddly enough is found only along these rivers, and then it jumps 500 kilometers, maybe 700 kilometers east, all the way to the Cumberland Plateau of Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky, nowhere in between. And these riparian river scour barrens form on these jumbles of sandstone bedrock, and these accumulations of bedrocks and cobbles provide these little nooks and crannies that perennial species like these native grasses, certain types of asters and goldenrods, goat's rue, have very durable underground stems that can anchor themselves between the rock. And so they're quite adapted, along with a few species of shrubs, being just pummeled year in and year out at certain times of the year, but yet they still maintain themselves. But if you look at the trees here, you can clearly see where they are getting sort of bent over by these floods. They're clearly not able to withstand the really intense floods that occur right there along that riparian zone. And so for that reason, this is a type of flood-maintained grassland community, which is not common in eastern North America. What tells us that this community has been here for a long time is the fact that there are species that have evolved completely within that thin strip. A type of ironweed called Vernonia lettermanii is found pretty much only in these zones out here on these rivers. There's also, as I mentioned, the Cumberland sandgrass is another. There's a type of blue star called Amsonia hubrichtii. Again, it's found only in that zone. And one of the reasons I'm out here today is we're actually describing a new species to science. It's a type of vine that grows sort of along the upper edge of that river scour barren, right there along that woodland zone, the woodland edge. And it's a type of clematis, a vine that has feathery seeds, and it's a new species to science, only found right here in southwest Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma. And incidentally, we think that its closest cousin is found to the east over in the river scours of Tennessee, where it's separated by 700 kilometers. So there's a lot of cool things going on here with these river scour barrens. And I urge you guys to come on out sometime and take a look at them. These are obviously areas that are of high scenic beauty. They're very poorly known, and they need a lot more documentation. They're also great areas to survey because they're along rivers. But it's the same factors that maintain them also make these somewhat dangerous sometimes to survey. If we want to go into them, for example, in April and May, when the flowers begin to emerge, they're often inundated. And if they're not, then oftentimes the risk of flash flooding is very high. And if you get off into a remote canyon, they can be somewhat dangerous to survey. You got to be constantly on guard for rising water levels. They also oftentimes have an abundance of timber rattlers. In this region, you get some western diamondback rattlesnakes, and they can be sort of hiding out in some of the rocks. You got to be careful there. Copperheads as well. And in this region, we don't have to deal with them in some parts of Tennessee where these communities occur, but you also have cottonmouths. So all those can be, don't present a problem as long as you watch for them carefully. But if you're doing some biodiversity exploration out here, you just want to be very careful. So I'm going to leave you with this very gorgeous and scenic view of the river scour barrens here along the Cossatot River of the Ouachita Mountains. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Southeastern Grasslands Initiative. Follow us on Facebook, Visit our website at segrasslands.org. And remember, we need your support, guys, in spreading the message to enhance grassland conservation efforts here in the Southeast. Thank you.